What is going on? What is going on? It is Thursday. So I saw earlier this week that the John Lewis Voting Rights Act was voted on earlier this week. I believe it was voted on Tuesday. I believe that's when I saw it was being voted on. Um, it failed to reach the number that it needed to pass. It needed 60 votes. If split 50-50. Reported all 50 Republicans voted against it, stating that the act was seemingly unneeded, unnecessary. Mitch McConnell had a few choice words for it. I believe one of the adjectives that he used was rotten, right? Rotten. So good old Mitch, right? So tomorrow, Friday, Derek Chauvin, or Derek Chauvin, however you pronounce his name, is scheduled to be sentenced after the eight-week waiting period. I saw where the Attorney General seemingly said, "Don't drop the hammer. Don't look to make an example out of Derek Chauvin." Right. So that was interesting. Um, and one of the things that I've been noticing, which I got a text message from it one time before I opted out of it. Stacey Abrams has a group. I don't know if it's a nonprofit. I haven't dug into it because I just like whatever. But it's called the Fair Fight Group, right? So what they're doing, they're trying to get basically to reverse what they feel are voter suppression laws that are passing in Republican states. And what the purpose of what they're doing is they want to hear your story. They want to hear, had you been in a situation in which you felt that you were turned away, you felt that you were seemingly you just had a bad voter experience, right? So they're looking for that to compile stories so they'll have something to present to Congress, right? So I don't know how they got my phone number to send me a text message. I didn't know anything about it until I got that text message, and then when I went and looked it up, and the first thing that came through my mind is that this could potentially get into a situation where people are falsifying stories. Now, I don't know what levels or what metrics are going to be used to quantify that certain mishaps, for lack of a better words, are being tracked properly. And what's interesting about this, obviously, is this is going on, and then also you have the John Lewis Voting Act that has not passed. And this is what gets me. This is what kind of, kind of makes me upset. It was originally called For the People Act. That was its original name. Passed the House, failed in the Senate, right? Senate Republicans said, hey, some stuff needs to change in it. We don't like it. They went back, redrafted it, slapped a new name on it, called it the John Lewis Voting Act, right? Now, John Lewis, to many, is a civil rights icon, a civil rights pioneer. Marched with Dr. King. Is in his final resting place at this particular point. Not here to throw any dirt on the man's name or anything of that particular nature, but I don't look at John Lewis the same way that some people look at John Lewis, right? So obviously you're pulling at people's heartstrings, I feel like, because you're throwing his name on it, right? And what you'll do is you'll throw his name on it and you'll put it out there to black people to say, hey, look, the Republicans, they don't want to pass John Lewis's voting rights bill. You won't go back and say that it was called for the people, for the People's Act. Y'all come out and rebrand it and say, hey, they don't want to, they're so racist, they don't even want to pass it. John Lewis was such a civil rights icon. John Lewis, his last days, he was fighting for equality and all that particular stuff like this. Because y'all have, in some estimates, to some individuals, I feel like that they have put John Lewis on the same level as an MLK, the same level as a Malcolm. Like, y'all have cemented him right there, and he's not. No disrespect to John Lewis, but he's not. So I implore anybody, go to Congress.gov, read through the John Lewis Voting Act yourself, make up your own mind. Don't allow for them to pull at your heartstrings, getting emotional, because they have painted John Lewis to be this cultural civil rights icon that the Republicans are spitting in his face, right? I've read through it. Again, I look at it. Another reason the reason that the Republicans seemingly voted the John Lewis voting rights down is because one of the other reasons was the fact that they feel that it's a power grab, that if they pass it, then what'll essentially happen is they will set themselves up for destruction, in the sense that they will no longer have the power within the House and in the Senate, that it will go to the Democrats. Seemingly the same reason why they won't vote to allow for Washington, D.C. to become the 51st state, because they feel like that if you do that, give them the adequate amount of representation that they need, then, as they will say, it'll be a liberal fest, right? So, again, like I said, that's one of the main things that I'm trying to focus really, really hard in on now, is a lot of stuff going on with politics right now. So I'm still somewhat of a novice with this stuff, but I have the ability to read, I have the ability to research, and I can look at stuff that have transpired in the past, and I can see whether or not those were beneficial, right? So there's that. George Floyd. Two of George Floyd's statues have been unveiled. One in Newark, New Jersey. The other, I believe, was in Brooklyn, New York. And the question has become, did George Floyd deserve not just a statue, but statues? Did George Floyd deserve statues? I've heard people refer to George Floyd as a martyr. I've heard people stating that George Floyd died for the cause. I vehemently, if I'm not pronouncing it right, disagree with those two assertions, right? George Floyd was not a martyr, because if you understand the definition of a martyr is a person that seemingly died for what it is that they believed in. In no instance have I seen a situation in which a person said that George Floyd was a freedom fighter, a person that was fighting for African American liberation. So to label him as a martyr, essentially, to me, is disrespectful to the true martyrs, the Malcolms, the Martins, the Medgar Evers, individuals that were of that particular ilk. So to say that he was a martyr, I don't feel that was right. To seemingly saying that he died for the cause, again, that's one and the same. He didn't die for the cause. George Floyd was heinously murdered in front of the entire world to see. If anything, that just makes him another victim. But you are a victim that it is just unfathomable that these particular type of things would happen on live TV. Like we were subjected to watch this murder, right? So we don't have to dress it up, right? The same thing that they're doing with George Floyd. George Floyd has a bill in his name called the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. So again, similar to the John Lewis thing, you're pulling at people's heartstrings. You're putting a black person's name on something that seemingly encompasses everybody, right? Seemingly encompasses everybody. So if it's something for everybody, leave it at what the original name was. Leave it at Justice and Policing Act. Leave it at the For People Act. Don't put our names in front of it. Because if you put someone's name in front of something, I feel like that the people that person came from, a black person, they should reap the benefits from that. And that's not the case. It's for everybody. So stop giving it that particular name. I don't like that. Now some people may say, "Oh, Rashad, you thinking too much into it." No, I'm not thinking too much into it. That's just what it is. Stop giving black names to things that are for everybody. Don't do that, right? So in closing, I saw IKEA for Juneteenth said we're going to give our employees some fried chicken, candied yams, collard greens, cornbread, and some watermelon. Black people had a fit. I saw where 20 employees called in and said that this was just so disrespectful on so many different levels. Why would you do this on Juneteenth? I don't really know what to say, honestly. We understand the negative connotation when it comes down to a watermelon. But if you really look at a watermelon, for what a watermelon is very much helpful for black people. It helps with hydration. It helps with cancer. And catch this, it helps controlling your blood pressure. And where I saw it, being shown at the publication that I saw it, I went to the comments and people were saying it was okay up until they said the watermelon. I said, it was okay up until the watermelon. All of the other things that were being served are detriments to our body. There's no one that can come with any empirical data that'll say fried chicken is beneficial. But I can come with empirical data to say that a watermelon is. I can come with a little data to support collard greens and candied yams and maybe, cornbread to an extent. But it doesn't match up to watermelon. But for people to say it was okay if it wasn't for the watermelon. Now, complete and utter disrespect would have said if they had some grape Kool-Aid beside it, So I felt like that. I look at this the same way I look at this, the black creators are boycotting TikTok and stuff like this. And I'm just like, it is so many other things that energy can be utilized. Like there's so many other things that we can come together and try to combat. And TikTok and fried chicken and watermelons, that's what does it. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me, Maybe it's just me. But anyway, that's that, man. Like I say, we got to end this week on a good note. They talking 12 and a half. That's what most pundits say, but we need to be shooting for the whole 30. Again, he can get anything from probation to 30 years. So that's that. So y'all have a good day, and I'll see y'all again next week.